The wind swept through the open plains, carrying dust that shimmered in the fading light. Jack Callahan guided his horse down the narrow path toward his ranch, his shoulders stiff from a day of hard work. The sky had turned the color of rust, and distant thunder promised rain. He was thinking only of a warm meal and a quiet night when movement near the barn caught his eye, a flicker of color where there shouldn't have been any. He slowed his horse, frowning. A figure stood near the old wagon, half hidden by the shadows. As he got closer, he realized it was a woman. She was barefoot, clutching a torn shawl around her shoulders, her hair tangled from the wind. Her clothes were travel-worn and stained, her eyes darting toward him like a frightened animal's. Jack stopped a few feet away, his hand resting near his revolver. "Ma'am," he called out, his voice low but firm, "you lost." She turned toward him, startled. I didn't mean to be here," she stammered, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. "I just needed somewhere to rest. I'll go if you want me to." Jack swung off his horse, studying her. She couldn't have been more than 25, but life had etched lines of worry on her face. He saw the way she trembled, her lips pale from cold or fear, maybe both. "There's a storm comin'," he said, glancing at the horizon where lightning cracked faintly in the distance. "Ain't no sense in walkin' out there now. You can stay in the barn tonight. I'll fetch you some water." She hesitated, uncertain whether to trust him, but nodded. "Thank you," she whispered, the word barely audible. Jack brought her a canteen and an old blanket from the tack room. He handed them over and stepped back, giving her space. "Name's Jack Callahan. This here's my land. You got a name?" She looked down at her hands before answering. Evelyn Moore." Jack nodded. "All right, Miss Moore. You can rest easy here. Ain't no one gonna bother you." For a moment, they stood in silence, the air thick with the scent of rain and hay. She took a sip of water, then wrapped the blanket around herself. Jack turned toward the door, figuring she needed peace more than talk. But then he heard her whisper behind him, a tremor in her voice that stopped him cold. "Wait," she said softly. "Please, don't go." He turned back, puzzled. Her eyes were wide, glistening with tears she hadn't let fall yet. She reached up, fingers fumbling at the clasp of her shawl. "I took it off, please," she cried, voice breaking. The shawl slipped from her shoulders and fell to the ground. Beneath it, the dim light revealed the truth, bruises spread across her collarbone, angry and dark. A few were fresh, others fading into yellow. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He had seen pain before, he'd been a soldier once, but something about this was worse. "Who did this to you?" he asked, his voice quiet but sharp as a blade. Evelyn shook her head, stepping back, her hands trembling. "Please, don't make me say it. I just needed to stop running." Jack's anger burned hot and fast, then turned to something gentler when he saw how she flinched. He raised his palms, showing her he meant no harm. "All right," he said softly. "You don't have to tell me. Not tonight." Rain began to fall, steady and cold against the roof. She sank onto a bale of hay, clutching the blanket to her chest. Jack hesitated, then took off his hat and knelt beside her. "You're safe here," he said, his tone steady but kind. "Whoever did that to you won't set foot near you again. Not while I'm around." Her eyes met his, uncertain, searching. For a heartbeat, the storm outside faded, and all that existed was the quiet between them. She reached out, hesitantly, and when his hand met hers, her fingers stopped shaking. And, in that dim, rain-soaked barn, for the first time in a long time, Evelyn let herself believe she might survive. The sun crept over the horizon, spilling soft light across the ranch. Dew sparkled on the grass, and the air smelled of wet earth and hay. Jack had been awake for hours, sitting near the stove in the barn while Evelyn slept beneath a pile of blankets. He'd kept the fire going through the night, listening to the rain fade into the distance. Now, with the storm gone, everything was quiet, too quiet. He looked over at her, still curled on the cot, her breathing soft and even. In the pale light, she didn't look as broken as she had last night. The bruises on her neck were visible, but her face had relaxed, the tension replaced with fragile peace. Jack poured 2 cups of coffee, one for her, though he wasn't sure she'd drink it. When she stirred and opened her eyes, for a moment she looked confused, like she couldn't remember where she was. Then she saw him, her hand tightened around the blanket. "I'm sorry," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean to fall asleep. I'll leave now. I shouldn't have stayed." Jack shook his head. "You ain't going anywhere till you've eaten something." He handed her the coffee. Storm's done, but the roads'll be muddy for a spell. Rest first. She hesitated before taking the mug, her hands trembling slightly. You're being kind, she said softly. You don't even know me. I know you've had a rough go, he replied, leaning against a post. That's enough for me. Evelyn stared into the steam rising from the cup. You shouldn't get involved, she said after a long pause. If they find me here, they'll hurt you too. Jack frowned. They, her lips pressed into a thin line. Then, with a shaky breath, she said, my husband. He owns a ranch near Laramie. He's got money, power, and men who do what he says. I tried to leave twice. The last time, he swore he'd find me wherever I ran. Jack's jaw tightened. And he's the one who left them bruises. She nodded once, tears gathering in her eyes. He always said I belonged to him. That no one else would ever want me. She looked down at her hands, voice trembling. I thought I could disappear if I kept moving, but I can't run forever. Jack pushed away from the post, the floorboards creaking under his boots. You won't have to, not anymore. Before she could respond, the distant rumble of an engine broke the morning calm. Evelyn stiffened instantly, color draining from her face. Jack turned toward the barn door and peered out. A black truck was coming down the dirt road, kicking up dust. Two men sat inside, her voice cracked. It's them. Jack grabbed his rifle from the wall, checking the chamber. Stay put, he said firmly. No sound, no movement. You understand, she nodded, clutching the blanket like a lifeline as he stepped outside. The truck rolled to a stop near the fence. Two men got out, hard faces, sharp eyes, pistols at their belts. Morning, one called. We're looking for a woman. Said she might have come this way. Jack's tone was calm, cold. Ain't seen any woman. The taller man smirked. Mind if we take a look around? Jack lifted the rifle slightly, the sun glinting off its barrel. You said one boot past that fence, he said quietly, and I'll put you down right here. They exchanged a glance, then stepped back. Ain't worth the trouble, one muttered as they turned to leave. The truck rumbled away, disappearing over the hill. When Jack returned to the barn, Evelyn was standing near the door, tears streaming silently down her face. You shouldn't have done that, she whispered. They'll come back. He set the rifle aside and looked at her steadily. Let 'em. I'm not scared of men like that. She took a shaky step toward him. Why are you helping me? Jack's gaze softened. Because everyone deserves one person to stand up for 'em. Today, that's me. Her lip quivered, and she looked down, then back up at him. I don't know how to thank you. He reached for her hand, his rough palm warm against her trembling fingers. You already did, he said quietly. You trusted me. For the first time, Evelyn smiled, a small, uncertain smile that spoke of something healing. The morning light bathed them both, and for a moment, the long, lonely ranch didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like hope.